Hello and welcome to Fin Business. Today we are in conversation with CB Anthony. He works with Edelweiss and looks at distressed asset resolution business. He's a veteran name in this space, and today we are going to talk about NPAs, stressed assets and many other things. So welcome on the show.
Thank you.
The first question I would like to ask you is, post IBC, what is the major change that you have seen in stressed asset business?
Just to give an introduction to IBC itself. See, 2002, we thought it was a watershed year for the distress asset resolution.
True.
That was the time when SARFAESI Act was brought in.
Absolutely.
And the distressed asset became got a commercial sense from that time.
Right.
Because ARCs were set up, loans were sold, and it could be securitized. If you really look at 2002, after CDR, SARFAESI Act, all were introduced, the NPA level came down to less than 2%.
Absolutely.
Net NPA was less than 1%. But 2008 happened. 2009, 10, 11 onwards, the stress started building up. CDR could not come to the help because the businesses, global macroeconomic, Indian macroeconomic, all were against that. So see, even for a recovery,
Right.
the economy should pick up.
Right.
Economy was in a very bad shape from 2010 onwards, see up to 15, 16, up to that. That's how the NPA started building up. 2013 NPA was around 3.5%,
Right.
which today we are staring at NPA of nearly 14-15%.
Absolutely.
NPA plus stressed. So the SARFAESI Act became somewhat ineffective. So after IBC, what has happened? What has changed?
Yes.
The difference is hitherto, including all the schemes we had for resolution of NPAs, were debtor in control. Okay, even in SARFAESI or in restructuring under ARC, we work with the debtor. But when the NPA levels grew so much, and the promoters also were part of the problem,
Absolutely.
I think there was a need to bring in debtor in control, creditor in control, as against debtor in control. So what IBC brought is the creditor in control, and once you are an NPA and creditors take over, that has happened in IBC. Number one, first is creditor in control.
Yes.
Second is the timelines. We have seen a number of times the time taken for resolution. You look at any of our schemes, DRT, even now it takes 5 to 7 years for resolution.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, IBC is really a game changer. It's going to be a game changer, really. Very large assets, if you look at the 12, the dirty dozen
Yeah.
big ones, you get very good competition for that to buy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, I think, medium and smaller cases, we need to wait and watch and see whether you get that much interest from competitors.
So I will come back to you on the 12 dirty accounts, because without which the conversation will be incomplete. But before that, if I ask you specifically now, looking at the stressed assets and looking at the activeness of IBC, which it didn't have with SARFAESI or DRT or with SICA, are there significant bidding happening for the stressed assets now?
Yes. Actually, if you look at the beginning, see, we are still in the early days.
Right.
We are just 16 months in the IBC. Globally, if you look at this particular insolvency practice, it takes nearly 3 to 4 years for it to get stabilized.
Right.
In India, we are still in the 16th month. I don't say it's a perfect law. It's a great law. I mean, the bidding processes, the systems and processes, all needs to be put in place now. That will come with practice. Actually, I think when a few large cases get settled, I think all systems, processes, code of conducts by maybe the lenders, borrowers, all will fall in place.
But again, since the IBC is there since last 16 months and a lot of cases have been going to NCLT, what is your experience? How much is the recovery happening? how much is the percentage of recovery the financial institutions can actually make?
In India, the recovery rates have been in the range of 25 to 40%. You go through any enforcement mechanism, that has been the our experience, right? Under SARFAESI, it increased to around maybe 50-55%. See, IBC, one good thing is that it's a resolution process. It's not a recovery tool. It's a resolution. See, the soul of IBC is resolution.
Yes.
Now, resolution, the main theme is the revival of the company. The company should be an ongoing company.
Right.
So, it protects a lot of economic values.
Yes.
In addition, recovery to the lenders, right? So, I said, since we are in the early days, our experience, if you take has been very good. Recovery has been north of 70-75%.
So now when we speak specifically about these 12 accounts which constitutes large chunk of whatever the NPA that the Indian banks are facing right now, how much recovery or how much resolution can we expect out of these 12 accounts?
Actually, if you look at that first 12 cases is nearly 2.5 lakh crore.
Absolutely.
And the second 40 cases is again 1.5 to 2 lakh crore.
Yeah.
Which means around 4.5 lakh crore, nearly 50% of our NPA.
Yes.
If we can resolve them, I think it will be a great achievement. Now, you asked about the recovery rates in these.
Yes.
The recovery of any asset, if you will, it depends on the robustness, the quality of the underlying asset. Okay? In these last 12 cases, there are around 5 steel cases. They are all good. I think there your recovery should be more than 50%, 50 to 70-75%.
Okay.
That's the rate. Whereas there are 3-4 EPC engineering companies where assets are not there. There banks would need to take huge haircuts.
Okay.
I mean, sacrifices would be to the extent of 60-70%, which means recovery will be 20-30. That's all. So it's all varies from company to company. Asset quality and the robustness of business, that makes the recovery. See, I also should mention that all these companies, I mentioned that 2010-11 onwards, these companies were, in India generally all companies were suffering.
Right.
Now, these years, either they were in CDR or they were under the many other schemes. You would have heard about S4A,
Right.
SDR. All these schemes were brought in by Reserve Bank of India and kept all these assets standard. Standard means they were servicing the debt somehow.
Right.
Maybe by availing additional loans,
Right.
some sort of an evergreening.
Right.
I think these are all increased the debt. Leverage got increased.
Right.
So if you really look at today some of these cases, the total debt, ideally that debt should have been around 60% of that debt.
Okay.
So effectively, if you look at when we talk of recovery, in a steel case, if we say 60-70% we will recover, I mean we are recovering the original principal amount.
How long will it take to actually resolve this issue?
See, timeline is drawn actually, 270 days. The first 12, I think in most of the cases the resolution will come in by next month. And if that happens, that will set lot of precedences, lot of good judgments.
True.
That will set the pace for the remaining 40 and the rest.
Right.
See, last February 12 circular of Reserve Bank of India said all cases where aggregate exposure is 2,000 crore
Right.
are given around 180 days time to resolve, or else it should go to NCLT.
Absolutely.
So I think 180 days time is given to, notice is given to all these cases. So banks need to work on them.
Will you please decode what is the logic behind all these bad loans? Is it that the banks were at fault? Is it that the promoters were at fault? Because there were regular inspections which happens from the RBI side. There is a regular audit structure which happens from the bank side. What is your findings? What is your observations?
See, all are responsible to some extent.
Absolutely.
I don't blame banks alone. I won't blame promoters alone. Of course, if willful default, fraud, that promoter segment you should separate out. They should never come back into, all these assets again. Otherwise, there are genuine reasons. See, if you really look at 2000, the UPA 2.
Right.
I mean, UPA 2 perhaps was a very bad phase for the industry.
Right.
We had a cancellation of, under
Coal blocks
2G,
and-
coal blocks cancellation. All these impacted steel and power sector. Really, they depend on coal.
Right.
So a coal block cancellation has impacted the industry very badly. Banks, as I said, under some scheme they have been trying to help these companies. See, whenever banks restructure, they think that these companies will come back by a financial re-engineering or financial restructuring.
Right.
But most of the assumptions go bad
Right.
because economy doesn't pick up. There were global factors. In fact, you look at 2009-10, global issues were there.
Yes.
11, 12, 13, Indian domestic macro factors were not favorable. So I think all these impacted the industry. Steel, cement, cement not many. Steel and power sector purely because of coal issues.
So, what is the biggest lesson that the banks have learned, or banks need to learn out of this?
IBC gives a lesson in the sense nobody will borrow too much. But will it impact your entrepreneurship? It's another debate we can have. But otherwise, borrowing, there will be discipline in borrowing, there will be discipline even in lending. So bankers also will be very careful in lending, and borrowers also would be very careful in taking money. That's one thing. Otherwise, all these, what bankers have to learn is risk assessment needs to be a little more rigorous in all the banks. It so happened in one or two, known investment bankers, look at the, due diligence will be done by an investment banker.
Right.
And all the bank, one large bank sanctions, all the banks follow.
Absolutely.
I mean, this should change.
Right.
One other issue I would highlight is the number of banks.
Right.
Number of banks in every consortium. It should not be too many, not more than 6 to 10. Even 10 is too much.
Okay.
6, 7 banks should only be in one consortium.
Right.
Otherwise, most of the banks don't do any due diligence. They say that the large bank has sanctioned, so we just
And the small banks simply join the race.
simply join the race.
So, if you look at, for example, few cases, there are consortiums from 25, 26 banks.
Yes.
So, do you believe that the consortiums need to break down to small numbers so that perhaps due diligence can be spread across
That's
something
one
like this?
new great lesson that will happen now. Number of, even I think Reserve Bank also is seized of this issue. Number of lenders in any one particular asset should be limited to maybe, my suggestion is it should be 6 to 7.
Okay.
Should not be more than that.
Okay.
And all the banks should do their own due diligence.
Okay.
Risk assessment has to be, absolutely, it should be very rigorous.
In what way the banks need to aggravate themselves or do the rigorous risk analysis? What is that the banks can do, because there is no collateral when you actually forming up a company, forming up a power plant, and it's a pure business loans, pure working capital, and the number of frauds coming out of particularly this. So what is your learning out of this, and what you would like to suggest
My
to this
learning
financial
and my
institution?
experience, I'm telling you,
Yes.
the biggest problem in India has been equity.
Okay.
Nobody was bringing in equity.
Okay.
So every asset is built on loan. Whether it is reasonably large companies, you will see even holding companies take loans, which means holding companies take loans to bring equity into SPVs.
Absolutely.
So I think equity should be increased. There should not be the 25-75 equity debt. It should not be. It should be 50-50 debt equity.
Absolutely.
I think because there is no cushion available.
Absolutely.
In any adverse scenario, there is no cushion available for the lenders because equity is so low that the company will immediately fall.
Yeah. Wave their hands, since there is
Absolutely.
a lack of
So,
responsibility
number one
there.
is one of the risk mitigation is more equity.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for sharing this insight. It was wonderful talking to you. Let's hope that the recovery from these 12 accounts will
it should be
soon
very good.
faster. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching.